Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our online version of our SMART Goal Setting lecture. My name is James Souchin. I'm an exercise specialist who works for the Edmonton Oliver Primary Care Network. My role here at the clinic is to help people learn about the importance of exercise and physical activity and the role that it can play in helping them manage their own personal health. Sometimes it might be to help them work on a medical condition that they might have. In other cases, just understanding we all need to exercise if we all hope to try to maintain a good quality of life as we're getting older. For today's lecture, we'll be talking about SMART goal setting. So we'll be talking about how you can go through a process to start planning for success for the future for any goals that you have. You probably will notice that as we're going through this presentation today, this is a system or a strategy you could use for any type of goal setting, not necessarily just for your physical activity or exercise. So hope you'll see that when we're done this process today, though today we will be using this process with an example that is specific to exercise or physical activity.
Okay, so to start off with, SMART is an acronym. So the S does stand for specific, M for measurable, A for attainable, R for rewarding, and T for timely. We're going to talk about all of these points a little bit more specifically as we move through the presentation here today. We also want to keep in mind that there are kind of two types of goals. There's long-term goals. So usually this is your overarching goal or what you're trying to accomplish in the long term. And we have short-term goals. A lot of times short-term goals might be something you can SMART goal set for on their own if it's kind of like a benchmark for your long-term goal. So for example, let's say if a person had a long-term goal of running a marathon, for example, and currently they can't even run 5 kilometers. The short-term goal would probably be run 5 kilometers. That's going to be a stepping stone to building up to being able to do that marathon eventually one day for that individual. A lot of times the short-term goals can also show up as steps along the part of the SMART goal setting process. So a lot of times there's things that you could actually just start doing immediately that you might not be doing already. So a short-term goal could be to start doing those things, knowing that they're going to help build towards that longer-term goal. So some examples of long-term goals: reducing our overall joint pain. That'd be a big one that I get a lot of patients for here at the clinic. Hiking in the mountains. So just having a goal of maybe a fitness goal, being able to go hike in the mountains. Some short-term goals could be, getting up and standing and stretching every 60 minutes at work. If you checked out that Active Living 101 online lecture or saw it in person, this is a big one, or even better, trying to get moving every half hour. And then the short-term goal, if the long-term goal was to start hiking in the mountains, a short-term goal might be to hike in the Edmonton River Valley trails to start off with for an individual that might be newer to exercise or hasn't gotten to the mountains too much yet. Okay, so we'll start getting into the SMART goal setting process. So to start off with, we've created a bit of a resource here. If you like, you should be able to find this on our website, a paper or a link that links to a paper that looks fairly like this. If not, you could also always just make your own, just writing down these headings on a piece of paper for yourself and then filling it out accordingly. So I'll run you through a quick little exercise or example of how you could start doing some SMART goal setting or filling out one of the forms that you saw on the previous page. So we'll start off with our SMART goal. This is generally your broader long-term or short-term goal that you might be aiming for. For the sake of our exercise here today, we'll go through a longer-term goal. Example that we'll use for today: I want to reduce my joint pain and improve my mobility. So again, this is a major reason that I'll see a lot of patients for, and it's especially as we all start getting older, something that can become a little more challenging if you haven't made a point of working on it. So understanding that it will get challenging, we're going to start this process with how to start goal setting to reduce our chances of this limiting us as much in the future. Okay, so to start off with, the S does stand for specific. So we write up right along the top here on that piece of paper or on your computer, depending how you're wanting to fill this out. I want to reduce my joint pain and improve my mobility. So this is just the specific things, what will I do? How will I start doing that? So first step, want to make sure we're starting off strong, getting something done immediately. So first step specifically, I will write out a SMART goal setting plan. So we're going to work on that right now for this individual. Next specific thing this person's going to try doing: I will get up and move for 2 minutes after every episode of my favorite show when binge watching at home. So yeah, this can be a common place where at home we tend to sit around quite a bit when we're relaxing if we don't have any chores to do. And lots of different streaming services out there where you could check out oodles and oodles of different shows, and probably could never get up from the couch before you died, I guess, if you were just watching every single thing that existed. So understanding that, want to try to get up every half hour, ideally. Most episodes of, a typical sitcom or something be a half hour. So getting up and, just stretching or walking around the house a little bit for 2 minutes after every episode is going to help stop you from stiffening up so much when you're sitting there. I will consult a healthcare professional to learn how to stretch and strengthen my muscles and move safely. So, if exercise is something you don't actually know how to do, this can be a step just to educate yourself on how to do this type of thing. I will go for a walk after work Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in my neighborhood. So a bit of an exercise goal to start off with here. This individual will go for that walk Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in their neighborhood. If we want to maintain our mobility, as simple as it sounds, got to make sure we're moving. So the M stands for measurable. So it'd be, how will I plan to measure it? How much, how many, potentially, depending on what we're putting in here. So, maybe a subjective measurement, just a person understanding that they have been in pain previously with grocery shopping, and, if they notice that they're in less pain, that's going to help. So I will be able to do all my grocery shopping without stopping due to pain as much or at all. So, maybe an individual has to, every 5 minutes, take a break, lean on the cart, sit down if it's possible on a bench or something, recover for a few minutes, then do 5 minutes more. That could be a very realistic scenario for some people. So maybe understanding that, as we start doing some of the stuff in that specific heading, I should notice an improvement here. If you wanted to go one step further, you could even say, maybe we'll sit down and really think about the pain, write down on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being very painful, 1 being no pain at all. And how many stops you usually have to take with your grocery shopping, whatever it may be. You could write those metrics down if it helps. And then, in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you could sit down again and think to yourself, how was the last grocery shopping trip? And, have I made some improvements here subjectively? Do I just feel like it's easier? I will be able to do all my housework without stopping due to fatigue. So again, this can be a big one for a lot of people without having to do a lot of measurements, just understanding that, hey, you know what, if you know for a fact you do your housework and let's say you got to sweep and mop the floors, vacuum a couple of the rooms with carpets, wash the counters, whatever it may be, and you find that you have to stop constantly just because you're out of breath or tired, after you start working on some of that walking plan and the other things in that specific category, again, you might just notice, hey, you know what, I can do almost all my cleaning without stopping because I'm tired. Maybe I stop to chat on the phone or do other things because we are at home. It's not like you're on a huge timeline, but understanding that you didn't have to stop because you were too tired to do it. That'll be a big subjective measure for yourself again. So maybe we'll do some that are a little bit more quantitative, some things that we can actually measure out in time. So maybe when we're thinking about getting up and down, you maybe have a job at work where you are sitting quite a bit, and you're just going to time how long you spend sitting at work, and then try to reduce this number every 2 weeks. So, again, especially if you checked out that Active Living 101 presentation, we talk a lot about that work-related activity, how important it is for overall health. So let's see how long we're sitting down. Get that stopwatch going every time you sit down. Try to turn it off every time you get up. Maybe you'll find out on an 8-hour shift, you're actually sitting for literally, 7 hours and, 45 minutes. And understanding that may not be so great. Trying to get up, a little bit more throughout the day. Maybe you're just going to try to sit for only 7.5 hours cumulatively. So, shaving off 15 minutes of inactivity that way. And then continuing to, look at what that's looking like throughout the week. For that walking that we're planning to do, maybe we're going to walk for 10 minutes on the Monday, Wednesday, and Friday after work for 4 weeks, and then you'll reassess how you're feeling at that point. After 4 weeks, hopefully that 10 minutes isn't feeling too bad if you've been doing this the entire time. Maybe you'll start doing 15-minute walks on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or maybe you'll feel like adding in Tuesdays and Thursdays to get a little more walking throughout the week. But ultimately just seeing how it feels, and then once you have a good handle on the amount of exercise you're doing, adding a little bit more just to increase making that challenge for yourself so that we can continue working towards our overarching goal of reducing that joint pain and improving that mobility. So the A stands for attainable. So what this means is, this realistic for my life? I'm at least 70% confident I can do what I've set out to do is the specific and measurable portion of this. So the first step, honestly, just writing down, I am 70% confident or more that I can do all of the above. If you aren't, then you need to actually redo the above until it's an attainable goal. A lot of times we get really excited about setting goals, and we get really excited about where we see ourselves going in the future and where we want to be. And we don't necessarily think about the entire process to get there. So, for example, if, I want to reduce my joint pain and improve my mobility, and you maybe watch, Olympic level gymnastics, for instance, and you can tell that, these athletes are extremely mobile, and, they're younger. I imagine there's might be some pain, but we wouldn't be too aware of the pain specifically. We'll assume that there's not for the sake of this argument. And yeah, so maybe you see these gymnasts and you go, you know what, gymnasts are very mobile. I've done zero gymnastics in my entire life, but you know what, I want to be mobile like that. So I'm just going to start working on the parallel bars and, running across the balance beam and stuff like that. And, that might not be a good place to start for an individual. So, you might put that as your specific goal. You might go to the gymnastics place one time, you do like 5 minutes of some of these activities, and then you get really discouraged when you realize, you know what, I'm not actually an Olympic level gymnast yet. So, maybe a better goal is to start off with something simpler. Maybe you're going to do, a very beginner level gymnastics class and enroll in that, versus just saying, I'm going to go to the gymnastics center and do those different types of activities I'm not trained in. So yeah, make sure that everything that you're doing is something you are confident you can do, because initially, if you set goals you can't even do from the start, it's going to be very discouraging. If you start off setting your goals with stuff you can definitely do, you can start building up that base, building up that confidence as you start working towards your longer term goal, and then you can gradually increase. And hey, who knows, maybe you'll get to that Olympic gymnastics level at some point. So yeah, making sure you are 70% confident that you can do all of the above is a critical step. Next, I will set an alarm to remind me on my cell phone every hour to move. So, a lot of times this category is just setting up the strategies to help make you mindful of the stuff you're aiming for. You might not remember just because you've read something and heard that it would be good to get up and move every hour or even every half hour if you could. So it's not going to make sense that you'll just randomly start thinking of it because you read it one time. So set an alarm on your phone, get your phone to bother you for a second. It's going to say, hey, go for a 1-minute walk, or hey, do your stretching, whatever note you leave to yourself when the alarm goes. And then you're going to be more likely to do that activity that's going to help build towards our overarching goal. I will inform my household of my plans and ask that they support me by encouraging healthy choices, or even better, joining me. This can be a huge step. Definitely the more people you have on board, especially the people within your own, social life or your social sphere, and your household would be the people you probably interact with the most, or maybe that's where you have the most struggles at home, is maybe when you have the bad meals, or you find that you're less active when you're out during the day. Maybe it's way more easy to do. Hopefully they're supportive of you, and I bet there's a good chance they're going to want to join you in this if you're making some really positive steps for yourself. So getting that support system on board can help you move a lot further. A lot of times one person in the household wants to do one thing while the other people in the household maybe don't really care, and that can make it a little bit harder. And sometimes it might just be something as simple as they don't know that you're doing this. If you haven't told them, why would they know you're making changes? They're going to assume you're going to do the same things you've always done if you haven't made that point of telling them. So yeah, let everyone know that's going to be part of this journey with you, so that you have some support and you can make some easier choices for yourself in the future. The R stands for rewarding. So this is actually probably the most important step, in the sense that this is where you're writing down, is this something I want to do? And you're writing down the reasons you want to make these changes, or the reasons you're wanting to do all of the steps from, specific, measurable, and the attainable portions. So again, a lot of times this might start off with a visit to your doctor or something, or you might have had your doctor just tell you to do something, or a friend tell you something, or a family member. But, if it's just someone telling you to do something and you haven't really chosen to do it, the biggest motivation might not be to, please your one friend that thinks you need to improve your mobility. So you want to think to yourself, why would this help me out in my real life or my day to day? And, why is this important to me? So maybe I want to maintain my ability to live independently. We're all hopefully going to get older, and at some point things are going to get harder, and some things are out of our control, but some things are in our control. And the exercise and activity that we try to get each day is something that's very much in our control, and it's going to have a big impact on our ability to walk, carry things, open jars. A lot of things we might take for granted when we're younger could become quite a bit harder when you're older. And if you don't have the fitness, or you have too much pain everywhere in your body to do certain things, you might need assisted living, or you might need to get to a point where you're even hospitalized in an extreme scenario. So that could be just a pretty big goal. I want to maintain my independence, continue doing my own thing, and enjoying that. I want to be able to play with my kids, my grandkids, and great grandkids. So again, this is a great or a big one that I get from a lot of patients that I'm working with. They're at this point where they're having kids or they had their grandkids, or I guess their kids had kids, and they're not sure if they can get down on the ground and play with those Legos or the dolls or whatever they're doing with their kids, and then get back up safely or even get back up quickly. Some people just feel maybe self-conscious about how they have to get up and down, even though they are able to do it. So understanding that if I had less joint pain, if I had more mobility, getting up and down from the ground and chasing those kids around when we're playing games and things like that will be a heck of a lot easier. Another thing to think about, just as a side note, our bodies obviously adapt to whatever we're doing to them. So if you're currently at a stage in life where it's actually not too bad getting up and down from the ground, I heavily encourage you to make a point of being on the ground for a little bit of time every single day. It is something you will lose the ability to do if you're not really putting your body through the ranges of motion necessary to get up and down from the ground, or developing or maintaining that strength. And it's something that's way easier to maintain if you're already able to do it. So if you can, just getting up and down from the ground a few times throughout the day. If you're watching TV, sit on the floor for a little bit instead of just on the couch the whole time. You'll kind of maintain that ability. If you lose the ability and you don't notice till maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years after it became a problem, it's going to be a lot harder to fix that problem. So sorry, a bit of a tangent there, but really can't not stress enough how important it is to be able to get up and down from the ground on a regular basis. Next one here, I want to be able to travel the world and enjoy my vacations without fear. So this is another huge one I get. A lot of people that I'm working with at the clinic are at retirement or very close to retirement, and they're at that point where they want to start traveling, they have the time and they have the money to start doing a lot of the stuff that they maybe weren't able to do when they're a little bit younger or working, but now they're fearful that they can't actually enjoy that vacation because they might not have the fitness. So want to make sure that if you have that trip to Italy to go see all those different sites that you've always read about or seen on the internet or pictures of, you want to make sure that you actually have the fitness to walk to all these places, stand around, take pictures, things like that. So very important to make sure that once you have the time to go do some of the things you haven't had the time to do earlier in your life, you need to have the fitness so that you can actually enjoy these activities. I don't want to avoid plans with friends due to not being confident I can physically keep up. So this can be another scenario where if your friends are going for a walk in the park and you don't actually know if you have the fitness to be able to walk in the park for any amount of time, that's going to limit some of your activities with your friends in that case. And there could be other examples too. So if you just make a point of staying active, getting moving as much as you can, it's going to reduce how often you have to make that kind of adjustment, or make up some reason you can't do something with your friends once you realize what the activity is. And finally, the T stands for timely. So it's great to set goals. We need to actually make sure we start those goals. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of stuff I wrote down. So the T is for timely. When will I start? How often will I do this? So could be, with that walking program, the goal was Monday, Wednesday, Friday to go for that walk for 10 minutes. Then this individual is going to make a point, Monday comes every week. The next Monday that comes, that's when I'm starting, and that's when we're going to get going. Maybe you do have some health concerns or health conditions that you're not too sure if you should get exercising extremely hard yet, or you just like to have it checked out by your physician or someone first. So maybe you will make that appointment to see your physician as soon as possible to be cleared for exercise. And understanding sometimes this might take a few weeks depending on how busy your physician's office is. But you know what, you'll have that concrete start date. This is the day I'm starting no matter what. And then you can get that advice from your physician, and maybe they can refer you to, someone like myself, or maybe you'll see a personal trainer or a physiotherapist if you have an injury or whatever it may be. But you'll get started up with the appropriate person if there's someone you need to see, which kind of brings you to the next one. So maybe you've made an appointment to see a kinesiologist next week to learn how to exercise. Could be at the Edmonton Oliver Primary Care Network if you're one of our patients, or at one of the other primary care networks, but ultimately going to see that person that's going to help get you moving, help teach you how to do that stuff that you might not know how to do yet. I will discuss these goals with my household when I'm finished writing my SMART goals today. So want to make sure we got 2 actionable points right away. So maybe the second you're done writing out these goals to yourself. One of your steps for the attainable was to let your household know so that they understand what you're trying to do, and hopefully will get on board. So yeah, maybe you'll fill this out. Maybe you're planning to start your walking plan. It's Monday today and you want to make sure everyone's on board. You'll sit down with the family or the household really quick and yeah, have that discussion about what you're planning to do. You can go as deep as you feel comfortable with the why you want to do it, but just making sure that they're on board or they're aware of what you're doing so that you can have their support. So once you've filled out, an entire sheet like this, it should look something like this. So this is essentially just everything we wrote down in the previous point, so you don't have to worry too much that you're missing something. If I change the slide, it is all stuff that you've seen. But yeah, you could have a piece of paper that looks somewhat like this. It's very organized. Here's the big what I'm trying to do. Here's a lot of the how I plan to do it. Here's the why you're wanting to do it. And here's the when you're wanting to do it. And that's going to help you formulate that plan and get you moving on your goals. So hopefully you can kind of see how a process like this could also be used for other goals, whether it's dietary goals, financial goals, mental health goals, relationship goals. You could use this process overall to kind of make the best plan for yourself moving forward there. So hopefully this made a lot of sense to everyone. If you have any questions about how you can do some smart goal setting, you can always feel free to give myself a call or my colleague, Lindsay Ertman. And if you have any questions or you just maybe wanted a little bit more hands-on help going through the process, or maybe you've done the smart goal setting and you just wanted, to have someone to kind of echo it off of to see if it makes sense, and if you're not able to have an actual appointment, yeah, you'll always feel free to give us an email, fire us a call, and we can kind of go over whatever it may be for you at that point. So yeah, hopefully you found this presentation helpful. Hopefully you understand, one, the importance of doing the goal setting. We are way more likely to do anything we've sat down and written down versus if we are just sitting and thinking about doing something and saying, hey, I should exercise someday. Definitely sitting down, going through a process like this is going to help you be a lot more likely to carry out your goals, as well as to help just keep you motivated when you're setting your goals, or, as we're going along with our goals, you can reflect on this sheet and, understand why you're doing the things you're doing. Sometimes we lose sight of our overall goals when we get, hung up with stuff that's happening in our day-to-day life. So sometimes having this just to look at can even go a long way when you have it on your fridge or wherever you have that's visible to yourself. So again, if you have any questions in the future, feel free to give either of us a call or an email, and we'll help you out as best we can. And if you have a few moments and you enjoyed this presentation, or if you had some tips for how we could make it better, definitely helps us if you could follow this link or the barcode here on the left if you have the app on your phone that scans those. But yeah, just check out the survey. It should take you probably under 3 minutes, I imagine, once you get started with it. And yeah, just let us know how we're doing. If there's improvements we can make, we want to hear about that too, so we can help serve you better. So again, thank you for joining me today for the Smart Goal Setting presentation. And yeah, good luck with getting started with some SMART goals.